First contact gone wrong. The Navarian warships emerged from hyperspace like obsidian arrows piercing the void, their crystalline hulls absorbing starlight rather than reflecting it. Earth's long-range sensors detected them near Jupiter's orbit, giving humanity precious hours to prepare for their first contact with an alien civilization. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the EDF Vigilant, Earth's newest defensive platform in high orbit. She watched the main display as the alien fleet approached with mathematical precision, their formation suggesting both military discipline and technological superiority. 20 years of service in Earth's defense force hadn't prepared her for this moment. Multiple signals incoming, Admiral. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. The message came through in perfect English, suggesting the aliens had been studying Earth for some time. People of Earth, I am High Commander Zextal of the Navarian Empire. Your civilization has been deemed worthy of evaluation for potential vassalage. Prepare to receive our diplomatic delegation. Chen's jaw tightened. The message wasn't a greeting. It was a declaration of authority. She opened a channel to Earth's Security Council, encrypted on quantum frequencies. Madam President, requesting permission to initiate Protocol Omega. There was a pause before President Torres responded. You believe the situation warrants it. They're not here for diplomacy, Chen replied, studying the alien ship's positioning. Their formation is designed to provide overlapping fields of fire. They're expecting resistance. Very well, Admiral. Protocol Omega is authorized. May God help us all. Chen turned to her tactical officer. Send the signal to Olympus Base. Wake up the Phantom. Deep within Mars Olympus Mons, in a facility unknown to even most of Earth's military, a ship unlike any other stirred to life. The CSS Phantom was humanity's insurance policy against superior alien forces, incorporating technologies that most thought impossible. The Navarian delegation arrived in a shuttle that seemed to bend light around it. High Commander Zextal emerged, tall, elegant, with iridescent scales and 4 arms. His expression carried the benevolent condescension of someone addressing children. Your world has potential, he announced to the gathered Earth officials. Under Navarian guidance, you could achieve greatness in mere centuries rather than millennia. We offer you the opportunity to join our empire as a protectorate species. President Torres stood her ground. And if we decline this generous offer? Zextal's smile didn't waver. Then we would be forced to assume direct control, for your own protection, of course. Primitive species often lack the wisdom to recognize opportunity. The meeting deteriorated quickly after that. When Torres formally rejected vassalage, Zextal merely nodded as if expecting this outcome. Your species will learn wisdom through subjugation then. We will begin your education immediately. The first shots came without warning. Nivarian weapons lanced through Earth's orbital defenses like paper, destroying satellites and defense platforms with surgical precision. The Vigilant shuddered as its shields barely deflected a blast that would have vaporized the ship. All ships, emergency protocols. Chen ordered, watching as Earth's defense fleet scattered to avoid destruction. Initiate delaying action Delta 7. Buy the Phantom time. The human ships fought with everything they had. But the technological gap was too wide. Nivarian weapons cut through their best shields, while human weapons barely scratched the alien vessel's crystalline hulls. Then a new signal cut through the chaos. This is Captain Maya Williams of the CSS Phantom to all Earth forces. Fall back and prepare for shock and awe. The Phantom appeared from behind Mars like a ghost. Unlike the sleek Nivarian ships or the utilitarian human vessels, it looked wrong. Its hull seemed to shift and change, defying the eye's attempt to focus on it. It moved in ways that ships shouldn't be able to move, as if physics were more of a suggestion than a law. What manner of vessel is this? Zextal demanded, his confidence showing its first crack. Williams's voice carried a smile. You wanted to educate humanity, High Commander. Let us teach you why you should have done your homework first. Lesson 1. Humans don't take kindly to bullies, no matter how advanced they think they are. The Phantom accelerated toward the Nivarian fleet, and the real battle was about to begin. The Ghost Ship. The Nivarian fleet's formation was perfect, too perfect. Captain Maya Williams smiled as she watched their ships maintain precise distances from each other, their movements calculated down to the millimeter. That kind of precision revealed their weakness. They thought space combat was a mathematics problem to be solved. "All stations report," she ordered, her hands resting lightly on the Phantom's neural interface controls. "Engineering ready," Dr. Sarah Hassan responded. "Quantum field generators at full capacity. Reality distortion grid stable. Weapons primed," Lieutenant James Chen added. "Phase torpedoes loaded." Dimensional shredders spooled up. The Phantom's bridge felt alive beneath Williams's feet. The ship wasn't just advanced technology. It was humanity's middle finger to the laws of physics. 20 years of reverse engineering alien crash sites, combined with humanity's unique approach to problem solving, had created something unprecedented. "Target the lead vessel," Williams commanded. "Show them why humans are the monsters other species tell stories about." The Phantom's first attack didn't come from weapons. It came from reality itself. The quantum field generators warped space around the ship, creating a bubble where normal physics ceased to function. To the Nivarian sensors, the Phantom appeared to be in multiple places simultaneously. "What sorcery is this?" High Commander Zextal's voice crackled over the comms. "Your primitive species cannot possess such technology." Williams didn't respond. The Phantom phased through solid matter, passing straight through a Nivarian cruiser. As it did, the phase torpedoes activated, temporarily shifting sections of the alien ship into alternate dimensions. When reality snapped back into place, the cruiser's hull was riddled with geometric holes where pieces of it simply ceased to exist. "Impossible," Zextal bellowed. "All ships, concentrate fire on that vessel." But hitting the Phantom proved impossible. The reality distortion grid bent weapon fire around the ship, sometimes sending it back at the attackers. When Nivarian ships tried to predict the Phantom's movement patterns, they found none. The human vessel moved like a dancer interpreting music only it could hear. "Second attack run," Williams ordered. "Dr. Hassan, prepare the dimensional shredders." "Captain," Hassan warned, "we've never tested them in actual combat. The effects could be unpredictable." "That's counting on, Doctor. Unpredictable is humanity's specialty." The dimensional shredders activated, sending out waves of energy that temporarily folded space like origami. 3 Nivarian ships found themselves occupying the same space for a fraction of a second. The results were catastrophic. When space unfolded, the ships had merged and separated in ways that defied comprehension. The Nivarian fleet's perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Ships fired at sensor ghosts, tried to retreat only to find themselves moving in impossible directions, and struggled to cope with a form of combat that violated everything they knew about physics. "This is not combat," Zextal protested. "This is an abomination against natural law." "Natural law," Williams replied, finally breaking their silence. "Let me teach you something about humans, Commander. We've spent our entire history breaking natural laws. When nature says we can't fly, we build wings. When physics says we can't go faster than light, we bend space itself. And when an advanced alien empire tells us we're primitive, we show them why humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our refusal to accept limitations." The Phantom danced through the Nivarian fleet like a ghost through walls, each pass leaving more ships crippled or destroyed. The aliens' superior technology meant nothing against an enemy that simply ignored the rules of reality. "Tactical analysis," Williams called out. "How are they adapting?" "They're trying to establish new combat protocols," Chen reported, "but they're still thinking linearly. They can't comprehend that we're not just breaking their rules, we're playing an entirely different game." The battle continued for hours, but its outcome was decided in the first few minutes. The mighty Nivarian fleet, with all its advanced technology and tactical precision, had no defense against human ingenuity unleashed. By the time the Phantom finally stopped its attack, half the alien fleet was destroyed or disabled, and the other half was retreating in disarray. "Send a message to all Nivarian ships," Williams ordered. "Tell them. Lesson 2. Never assume that primitive means predictable." Class dismissed. As the surviving Nivarian ships flowed into hyperspace, Williams knew this wasn't over. They'd won the battle, but the war was just beginning. Somewhere out there, the Nivarian Empire was processing its first defeat in centuries, and their response would be devastating. But that was fine with her. After all, humanity had plenty more surprises waiting. Counterstrike. The Nivarian Empire had never faced anything like this. For 3 months after their initial defeat, they sent probe after probe into human space, trying to understand what they were dealing with. Each probe disappeared mysteriously, victim to the Phantom's silent hunts. But the Empire's response was building. A massive fleet gathering in the darkness between stars. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in Earth's new underground command center, watching holographic displays of ship movements across the solar system. "Report on Project Echo," she ordered. 7 more ships ready for quantum field installation. Her aide responded. "The Phantom's technology is being replicated successfully, though none of the new ships can match its full capabilities." That was expected. The Phantom was unique, a perfect fusion of stolen alien tech and human innovation. But its greatest contribution wasn't the technology itself, but what it taught humanity about breaking the rules of conventional space warfare. "Message incoming from the Phantom," a communications officer announced. "Captain Williams reports Operation Hornet's Nest is ready to proceed." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Nivarians thought they were being clever, gathering their forces in secret. They didn't realize they were falling into a trap 3 months in the making. In the void near Saturn, the Phantom waited with its new sister ships, smaller vessels equipped with simplified versions of its reality-warping technology. Captain Williams surveyed her tactical display, watching the quantum signatures of hundreds of Nivarian ships approaching through hyperspace. "All Echo ships maintain formation," she broadcast. "Remember your training. We're not trying to outfight them. We're going to drive them mad." The Nivarian fleet emerged from hyperspace in an attack formation 500 ships strong. At their head was a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even their largest previous vessels. Its hull pulsed with energy that distorted nearby space. "Attention, human forces." A new voice boomed across all frequencies. "I am Grand Admiral Kexthor of the Imperial First Fleet. Your tricks and aberrations end today. Surrender the Phantom and its technology, or we will reduce your world to atoms." The response came not from Williams, but from thousands of quantum beacons suddenly activating throughout the solar system. Each one began broadcasting false sensor readings, creating ghost images of human ships that were indistinguishable from real ones. The Nivarian fleet's perfect formation wavered as their sensors were overwhelmed with contradictory data. Which ships were real? Which were phantom images? Their computers couldn't tell the difference. "Begin Phase 2, Williams ordered. The Echo ships moved in perfect coordination, each one projecting quantum fields that overlapped and interfered with each other. Space itself began to ripple and twist. Nivarian targeting systems failed as light itself became unreliable. "This is your final warning," Kexthor threatened, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. "You still don't understand what you're dealing with," Williams responded. "Humans don't just think outside the box. We deny the existence of the box entirely." Echo Squadron. Execute Pattern Omega. The real battle began. Echo ships appeared and disappeared, their quantum fields creating corridors of warped space through which their weapons could fire from impossible angles. Nivarian ships found themselves under attack from weapons that seemed to ignore distance and position. But the true horror for the Nivarians was psychological. Every time they thought they had adapted to one human tactic, 3 new ones appeared. Their rigid military doctrine crumbled in the face of an enemy that refused to fight according to any recognizable rules. Your forces are still outnumbered 50-1. Kex Thor rage. You cannot hope to prevail. Grand Admiral Williams replied calmly, let me explain something about humanity. Throughout our history, every time someone told us we couldn't do something, we took it as a challenge. Every time someone said something was impossible, we found a way to make it possible. You came here expecting to find primitive savages. Instead, you found the species that looked at the fundamental laws of physics and said these are more like guidelines, really. The Phantom led its squadron in an intricate dance through the Nivarian fleet. Where the Echo ships passed, reality twisted. Ships found themselves firing at their own allies. Quantum fields intersected and created bubbles where time moved at different speeds. The neat formations of the Imperial fleet dissolved into chaos. Hours into the battle, the mighty Nivarian armada began to retreat, not because they had suffered devastating losses, though they had, but because they could no longer trust their sensors, their weapons, or even their own eyes. This isn't over, Kex Thor promised as his dreadnought prepared to jump to hyperspace. We will return with countermeasures for your quantum abominations. We're counting on it, Williams responded. Because that's the thing about humans, Admiral. Every time you come back stronger, you'll find we've invented 10 new ways to break your rules. That's not just our strength. It's our favorite hobby. As the Nivarian fleet retreated, Chen's voice came through on the Phantom's private channel. Well done, Captain. But our sensors detect they left behind stealth observers. They're studying us, learning. Good, Williams replied. Let them learn. Because next time, they'll face something even worse than quantum warfare. They'll face human creativity without restraint. In the darkness of space, the Phantom and its squadron regrouped, preparing for the next phase of the war, because they knew the Nivarians would return, and humanity would be ready with yet another impossible surprise. The Admiral's Gambit. The warning came 3 weeks later. A quantum ripple at the edge of the solar system, different from anything they'd seen before. The Nivarians weren't just returning. They'd learned, adapted, and brought something new. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, Lieutenant Chen reported from the Phantom's tactical station. But they're fragmented, breaking apart and reforming. Captain Williams leaned forward in her command chair. The tactical display showed hundreds of Nivarian ships emerging from hyperspace, but something was wrong. Their quantum signatures pulsed and shifted, making them as hard to track as the Phantom itself. They've reversed engineered our quantum field technology, Dr. Hassan announced, her voice tight with concern. Not exactly, but they found their own way to achieve similar effects. A familiar voice echoed through the command channel. Captain Williams. Grand Admiral Kex Thor's tone was different now. Respectful, almost appreciative. I must thank you for teaching us so much about the true nature of space warfare. Allow me to demonstrate what we've learned. The Nivarian fleet moved with impossible fluidity, their ships phase-shifting and quantum jumping in ways that mimicked human tactics. But there was something else, something worse. Energy spike. Chen shouted. There? The space between the fleets erupted in a cascade of quantum distortions. Reality itself seemed to tear apart as the Nivarians deployed their new weapon, a device that didn't just bend space, but actively destabilized it. All Echo ships, emergency protocols. Williams ordered, but it was too late. 3 of the Echo squadron vessels vanished as the quantum cascade touched them, their reality warping fields overwhelmed by the more powerful disruption. Fascinating, isn't it? Kex Thor's voice was calm. We took your concept of reality distortion and expanded it. Why manipulate space when you can simply erase it? Your quantum fields rely on controlled distortions. Ours create controlled destruction. The Phantom rocked as another quantum cascade nearly caught it. Williams watched in horror as the fabric of space-time began to unravel wherever the Nivarian weapon struck. They weren't just fighting anymore. They were threatening to tear apart the solar system itself. Admiral Chen, Williams called over the secure channel. "Are you seeing this?" "We are." Chen's voice was grim. "They've weaponized quantum uncertainty on a scale we never thought possible. If those cascades reach Earth, they won't," Williams promised. She turned to her crew. "Dr. Hassan, remember that theoretical protocol we discussed? The one you said would be suicidal?" Hassan's eyes widened. "The quantum synchronization. Captain, if we try to sync our field with their cascades, the feedback could destroy us, or it could do something else entirely." Williams smiled. "That's the thing about quantum mechanics. Until you observe the result, anything is possible. And humans have always been good at beating the odds." The Phantom accelerated directly toward the heart of the Nivarian fleet. Around it, space continued to tear and reform as quantum cascades rippled through the void. The remaining Echo ships followed in tight formation, their quantum fields synchronized with the Phantom's. "What are you doing?" Kex Thor demanded, a note of uncertainty entering his voice. "Something stupid," Williams replied. "It's another human specialty. Dr. Hassan, begin quantum synchronization. Lieutenant Chen, plot an attack course through their biggest cascade field. Let's find out what happens when you add chaos to chaos." The Phantom's quantum field began to pulse in harmony with the Nivarian weapons. Instead of trying to resist the cascades, they embraced them, adding their own distortions to the mix. The laws of physics screamed in protest as two different approaches to quantum manipulation collided. "All ships, brace for reality distortion," Williams ordered. The Phantom plunged into the heart of a quantum cascade, its field merging with the destruction around it. For a moment, everything seemed to stop. Space, time, reality itself held its breath. Then the impossible happened. The cascade didn't destroy the Phantom. It merged with it. The human ship's quantum field acted as a lens, focusing and redirecting the Nivarian weapon's energy. Where there had been chaos, suddenly there was harmony. A perfect synchronization of opposing forces. "Dr. Hassan," Williams called out, her voice steady despite the reality-bending forces around them. "What's happening?" "The cascades. They're stabilizing," Hassan replied in wonder. "Our quantum field isn't fighting theirs, it's completing it. We're creating a new type of space-time matrix." The result was beyond anything either side had imagined. The Phantom emerged from the cascade surrounded by a shell of stabilized quantum energy, more powerful than either technology alone could achieve. And in that moment, Captain Maya Williams understood exactly how to end this war. Humanity's legacy. "All Echo ships," Williams broadcast, "modify your quantum fields to match our frequency. We're not going to fight the cascades. We're going to dance with them." The remaining human ships adjusted their fields, creating a network of synchronized quantum distortions. Where Nivarian cascades met human quantum fields, new patterns of stable space-time emerged, spreading like crystalline fractals through the battlefield. "Impossible," Kex Thor whispered over the still-open channel. "You've turned our weapon into something new." Williams finished for him. "That's what humans do, Admiral. We don't just adapt, we transform. We take opposing forces and find ways to make them work together. Now, watch closely. This is your final lesson about humanity." The Phantom led its squadron in an intricate pattern through the quantum-distorted space. Each movement created new resonances in the fabric of reality. The stabilized zones began to expand, forming corridors of ordered chaos through which ships could safely travel. "Dr. Hassan," Williams called, "what exactly are we creating here?" "It's a new form of space-time manipulation," Hassan replied, her voice filled with wonder. "The collision of our technologies isn't destroying reality, it's rewriting it. We're creating sustainable quantum pathways that could revolutionize space travel, energy generation, everything." On the tactical display, the battle had transformed into something else entirely. Ships from both sides found themselves navigating through crystal-like structures of stabilized quantum energy, each one a potential gateway to new scientific understanding. Grand Admiral Williams broadcast, "I'm sending you our sensor data. Your scientists will confirm what we've discovered. Together, our technologies haven't just created a weapon. They've opened a door to something far more valuable." There was a long pause from the Navarian flagship. When Kexthor spoke again, his voice had changed. "Your species continues to surprise us, Captain. When we first arrived, we thought we were dealing with primitives who had stumbled upon advanced technology. Instead, we found artists, innovators. You don't just use technology, you reimagine it." "That's the thing about humanity," Williams replied. "We've never been content with just surviving. We dream, we create, we transform. And now we're offering you a choice. We can continue this war, keep finding new ways to break reality itself. Or we can work together," Kexthor finished. "Study this phenomenon we've created. Learn from each other." Admiral Chen's voice joined the conversation. "The Security Council has authorized me to extend an offer, Grand Admiral. A research alliance. Equal partners, sharing knowledge and discoveries. There's clearly more to learn about the nature of space-time than either of our species imagined." The quantum crystals continued to grow throughout the battlefield, turning what had been a zone of destruction into a shimmering network of possibilities. Ships from both fleets cautiously navigated through the new formations, sensors drinking in data about phenomena that defied known physics. "Your offer is intriguing," Kexthor admitted. "The Empire has not had an equal partner in millennia. But perhaps that is precisely what we have needed. Stagnation comes from believing you have all the answers, and progress comes from asking new questions," Williams added. "Questions like, what happens when you combine seemingly opposing forces? What becomes possible when you stop trying to dominate reality and start trying to understand it?" The next few hours were filled with careful negotiations, sensor data exchanges, and the first tentative steps toward cooperation. Ships from both fleets worked together to stabilize and study the quantum crystal formations. Scientists began sharing theories about the implications of their discovery. As the immediate crisis passed, Williams stood on the Phantom's bridge, watching human and Navarian ships working side by side to map the new phenomena they'd created. Lieutenant Chen approached with a datapad. "Message from Earth, Captain. They're calling it the Genesis Array. This quantum crystal structure we've created. Preliminary studies suggest it could revolutionize everything from space travel to energy production. And all it took was two species trying their best to destroy each other," Williams mused. "Funny how the universe works sometimes." "Not funny," Dr. Hassan interjected, looking up from her sensors. "Human. We took conflict and found cooperation. Took destruction and created discovery. That's what our species does. We transform problems into possibilities." Admiral Chen's voice came through one final time. "Captain Williams, your new orders are to establish a joint research base with the Navarian science teams. Study these formations, understand them, and keep surprising them. That's an order." Williams smiled as she watched the quantum crystals shimmer in space. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. They hadn't just survived an encounter with a superior alien force. They'd turned it into an opportunity for growth, discovery, and cooperation. "Helm," she ordered, "take us into the array. We've got work to do." The Phantom glided forward into the crystalline structure, its quantum field harmonizing with the very forces that had nearly destroyed them hours before. Behind them, human and Navarian ships followed, ready to explore this new frontier together. In the end, humanity's greatest weapon hadn't been their technology, their adaptability, or even their creativity. It had been their ability to see beyond conflict, to find harmony in chaos, and to transform enemies into allies. As the joint fleet ventured deeper into the Genesis Array, they carried with them the true legacy of humanity. the power to imagine a better future, and the determination to make it real. The end.